Welcome to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show, a real estate investment program. Listen and learn how to use real estate to build wealth and passive income streams for you and your family. We bring you experts every day to discuss and answer your questions on everything from single-family homes all the way up to 600-plus unit apartment complexes. And now, the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Hey, good afternoon. This is David Ruzicka with Lifestyles Unlimited. So glad to be with you today, working on your financial freedom. I'm really excited today because in the other side of this building right now, David Fisher, one of our two-day Financial Freedom Program seminar instructors, is actually teaching in Houston our very first live two-day since the shutdown last year. So we have a bunch of people in there. We also have a bunch of people online. It is an exciting time to get started on your real estate investing, to get started on your trip to financial freedom. There are a lot of people in that room right now that are getting their first taste of what it means to achieve financial freedom. And David always says, I'm going to teach you how to retire in 5 years or less rather than 40. So really excited about that. I want you to go to the website. If you've not been to our free workshop before, go ahead and do that. Go to lifestylesunlimited.com. I'm actually going to be teaching 1 week from yesterday. I'll be teaching on Friday, June 11th at noon. There are some others as well. I've got some great teammates that do that free workshop as well. But if you want to see me in person, it'll be Friday, June 11th. Also, I'm really excited today. I've got Phil Shelton with me. You know, Del Walmsley always says, bigger is not always better. Better is always better. And he also says a good life gets in the way of a great life. And the guy I have with me today, Phil Shelton, he has just, it's kind of a storybook kind of ending. It's not over yet, but you'll see what I mean as I explain to you. First of all, he could have retired himself in 4 years after he joined Lifestyles Unlimited, increased his net worth by 200%. But that's not the biggest part. The biggest part, the reason he took a little bit longer is because he had to do some preparation because he wanted to retire on the Island of Bonaire in the Caribbean, Netherlands. So he's actually talking to us today from an island in the Caribbean where he lives, which is just an amazing lifestyle. That's why we call it Lifestyles Unlimited, because there's really, we kind of take the limits off of how you can choose how you want to live the rest of your life. So I'm excited to have Phil with me today, a guy living in the Caribbean, living the dream. Phil, so glad to have you with me today. I want our audience to get to know a little bit about your background, first of all. Just tell us a little bit, how and where did you grow up? What was your life growing up like? And then what did you do in college?
Sure, that'd be easy. By the way, bon tardy, as they say here on the island, for good afternoon, and good to be on. Yeah, I grew up in Fort Worth, in the inner city schools for the most part. Son of a postal worker and a government worker mother. And it's kind of a rough neighborhood, to be honest with you. It's especially once we got into junior high and high school. You had you change your route when you came home from school in the evening after dark because it wasn't as safe as it was in the daytime. And the last thing I would do is get shaken down for my lunch money just because I took the wrong turn on the street. So in any case, I persevered through that, and I was really a good student, but I was lucky enough to be in the band, and I played tuba in the band, and that was an instrument that wasn't just everybody didn't just do. So I managed to wangle a scholarship at TCU in playing in the band, and really the best thing that happened to me is I had a student teacher, a substitute teacher that was a TCU grad that convinced me that that's something I ought to try to do is try out for the band scholarship. I got that and got a ride. Otherwise, there's no way I would have been able to afford to get to college.
That's amazing. It's amazing really to hear that story and hear where you are right now, living on an island, real estate retired. That's huge. So then from there, what was your professional life like? What were you doing to get to retirement at some point in the future?
Yeah, I started out as a geologist in the oil business. And the oil business in the early 80s kind of collapsed. And there just wasn't any place for me. So I went back to school and got my MBA in finance, insurance, and real estate. at the University of North Texas, one of the better schools for that at the time. And I got into banking, but in the asset management side. So I started looking, mostly actually selling oil and gas properties that the bank had taken over through foreclosure. But then I kind of transitioned into the real estate side a little bit. I learned some of the business, stayed there for a while. Then I went to GE Capital Real Estate, and I was as an environmental geologist. So I was doing a lot of environmental remediation work on properties that they'd taken back, which they were investing in. They had environmental issues associated with them. And so I sat through investment committee after investment committee, and I listened to them talking about the deals in the real estate and how it's lucrative and all this kind of stuff. But I never really thought that this was something that you could do yourself. That, real estate's a broad spectrum of types of properties, but it's not something I really thought I could do. So I worked at GE for a little over 15 years. And then I worked at Goldman Sachs for another 5 years doing a similar type job. And when 2016 came around, I guess the market kind of dropped again a little bit, and they were letting people of my vintage go at Goldman. So at that point, I decided, I'm going to go all in on real estate and do the best I can. And because if I was to get laid off again, I didn't want to have to look for a job and try to figure out how to feed my family and that kind of stuff. Besides, my wife and I already decided that we wanted to make the transition into moving to the Caribbean back then. We didn't know where we wanted to go, but we just wanted to know that we wanted to do that. We had fun at the beach. We enjoyed the lifestyle, and that's really what we wanted to do.
That's great. I hear from lifestyle member after lifestyle member the same kind of story. It's like we're going to hear on the other side of the break how Phil got to the Caribbean through Lifestyles Unlimited. I hear the music coming on. Yeah. So hang with us other side of the break. We've got a great story here. Glad to have you with us today.
We're back with the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. We're here to answer your questions and help you become financially free.
This is David Ruzicka with Lifestyles Unlimited, working on your financial freedom. And today I am joined by Phil Shelton, who used his education from Lifestyles Unlimited to do real estate investing and retire on an island in the Caribbean. And that's where he is right now, talking to us today. And right before the break, we kind of got a thumbnail sketch of Phil's life up until the point that he found out about Lifestyles Unlimited, but he realized he needed to do something different. He couldn't rely on corporate America to provide for him the way he wanted to. And so, Phil, how did you hear about Lifestyles Unlimited at first?
It was interesting. My wife and I knew we wanted to get involved in real estate, but we really didn't know how, and we were a bit afraid. So we signed up and gone to what was called an REI Expo, which is a real estate investment expo. It was put on by a local guy, and he had vendors and all kinds of people in there that were, providing education. But what was interesting was the lunch speaker on the first day was a guy on the radio from Lifestyles. And I almost didn't stay for lunch. I almost went out to eat instead. But I stuck around and had the Subway sandwich or whatever it was. And I listened to it, and I thought, this guy is selling snake oil. It's a bunch of baloney. And because it sounded like it wasn't reasonable for an average person, a working class person, to do. But I had a friend that I knew from a local ski club that I knew had been in the multifamily business for a long time, and his family was in the multifamily business even before him. And I said, Dennis, is this for real or is this a scam? He goes, no, it's probably the most legit real estate education business out there, or organization out there. So I thought, well, he's not going to lie to me. It has no recent.
And what year was that, Phil? What year? What year was that?
That was early 2012.
So 2012, yeah, it is 2021. We've been going since 1990, 50,000 members, A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. And so what Phil's friend told him is still true today. The most legit real estate investor education program out there and mentoring program. Okay, so wanted to interrupt and tell you that. Go ahead, Phil, continue on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I immediately signed up for a free workshop, and knowing I already decided that I was going to join even before I got there. But we sat through it, and I learned a lot in that hour and a half about a lot of things. But I knew for sure that was something that the small investment, for the basic membership was something I was going to do. I did that, and it took a while for me to get going, to get some momentum. But basically, I was off and running from there. I joined, upgraded my membership about 2 months later, and really wanted to get into multifamily. And I had an opportunity to, but I couldn't because the company that I was working for at the time was a very large investment bank, and they had to approve your outside investments, and this didn't make the cut. And it took a long time for them to come back with a no. So I doubled down and just went into single family as hard as I could, and just did that and got the income acceleration going, and just felt really good about it, and knew that that's something that I really wanted to do long term.
That's great. Tell me about your first deal. I remember my first single-family deal. I was terrified. I thought I was calling my mentor every single day or emailing him every day, and I was just really worried that I was going to do something wrong. And turned out to be just smooth sailing all the way through, and the things that would wake me up in the middle of the night turned out to be not things that I needed to wake up in the middle of the night for. What was your experience on that first deal? Were you afraid? Were you worried? Were you concerned?
Afraid about everything. It took me 3, 4, 5 months to get my first deal because I looked at so many deals and decided that they just weren't good enough. And back then, you could easily get stuff on the MLS. So we constantly were looking at deals. My wife and I, even at work, I was looking at deals. So don't tell anybody. But we finally found something that looked like it was going to work. It was a Fannie Mae foreclosure in a really nice middle-class neighborhood in north of Dallas, and I sent the analysis to my realtor, the Lifestyles realtor, and he looked at it and said, "Yep, this is a deal." And he ran it by my mentor for me as well. And I said, "Okay, I want to offer, $3,000 less than the asking price." He goes, "No, you need to do $3,000 more than the asking price, otherwise you're not going to get a deal." And I thought, no, this is crazy. I'm not going to do that. But I basically relented and did that and got the deal. So I got the deal at about $23,000 out of pocket, and it cash flowed like $470, $480 a month. And I had that rented out solid for 4 years.
And what was your go ahead. What was your equity capture on that deal?
After I sold it, the equity capture was about $135,000.
$135,000. You had $23,000 out of pocket. That's right. That is a huge increase. You never could do that in the stock market or in your 401k or your IRA.
No.
And you're earning 25% cash on cash along the way.
Right.
In addition to that,
That's
and.
Right.
You had an interesting experience with that house when you moved into it.
That's what I was going to say. I walked through it with my contractor, the rehab contractor, and we opened the garage, and there is all this aluminum foil built onto this structure, and it turned out to be a marijuana grow house. And it didn't have anything in it. It had been abandoned, but it was hardwired to the next door neighbor, his electric box, so he was feeling electricity directly for the next door neighbor who had an elderly tenant in there that probably didn't know the difference. So really good neighborhood in that regard. But what was funny was this house was a fortress. It had a huge 10-foot fence with an automatic gate and all that stuff, and it was it was the most well-protected house in the neighborhood.
And there was a reason for that.
There was a reason for that, exactly.
They had a good cash flow, a different kind of cash flow business than what we present here at Lifestyles Unlimited.
Sales.
And so how long did it take you to rehab that first house?
It had a little bit of foundation work, so it took me about a week to get on the schedule, but after that it took 3.5 weeks.
About 3.5 weeks. And
Yep.
How did you find someone to lease that house from you?
I did it myself. I put a sign in the yard, and I put some stuff on, basically put a step in the window, and it was in a desirable neighborhood, and I started getting calls before I got home.
I'm just curious, did you spend money on that sign, or did you make it yourself?
No, I bought it at Home Depot and just put my phone number on it.
That's my very first house. Stay with us on the other side. We're going to hear the rest of Phil's journey from the inner city to the Caribbean. Glad you guys are with us as we're working on your financial freedom.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Now, let's get back to your map to financial freedom.
Hey, great to be working on your financial freedom. Excited to be doing that today with Phil Shelton, who is talking to us from the island of Bonaire in the Caribbean, Netherlands. I do want to remind you, as I mentioned at the top of the show, today, right now, as we're speaking, we're having our very first live in-person 2-day financial freedom seminar right here in our Houston office. David Fisher is down the hall from me. He's teaching that. He's been teaching it all day. We got a bunch of people in the office. We also have a bunch of people online live stream. So if you don't feel comfortable coming in the office, or if you live far away, no problem. You can watch it online, live stream. You can ask questions. You can interact with David as you go through that class. So I want to encourage you, go to lifestylesunlimited.com. If you've not been to the free workshop, go ahead and get signed up for that. I'm going to tell you in that free workshop the 5 ways that we make money in real estate. You've heard about a couple of those as we've been talking today with Phil Shelton. Also, I'm going to talk to you about the principles that we use to run our business. I'm going to show you some case studies, some folks who have no real estate experience at all and have done wonderfully. I'm going to show you a couple who worked all their life to build a net worth, and in their retirement, they increased that by 5 times. And so just some really great information for you, and it's free. And it's online. You can't even come into the office for that one, for the free workshop. It's 90 minutes. The one that I'm doing is this coming Friday, June 11th. And so love to have you join me for that. But if that didn't work for you, there are other ones that are going on during the week, and you can take part in that as well. First half of the show, we were talking with Phil. Phil is a geologist with an MBA in finance and real estate. Grew up in the inner city. Got a free ride to college through a TUBA scholarship, and joined Lifestyles Unlimited. And we were talking about his very first deal, which ended up with 25% cash-on-cash return. That's month in and month out. Annually, he's earning 25%. And he had a $135,000 equity capture on a house that he spent $23,000 out of pocket, had it leased the entire time. And I was mentioning, just as we started, I'm going to get him to talk more in just a second. I asked him how he leased the house. He said he put a sign in the yard. Very first house I leased, I went and bought a nice made sign from Fast Signs. I put it in the front yard. It was stolen within a day. So then I got a big piece of cardboard. I wrote with my hand with a magic marker 2 different signs in the windows. I got one of those little arrow signs to stick in the yard so people would look to the windows, and had that thing leased before I was done with the rehab. And as Phil said, Phil, when did you have when was your actually leased? Was it leased before you had the thing finished, before you had it all rehabbed and ready to
go? No, it wasn't. It wasn't leased before then. I should have probably started earlier than I did, but I didn't know better, and I didn't listen to my mentors. But it didn't take. But just I put the sign in the yard about maybe 3 or 4 days after the rehab was finished, and like I say, before I got home, my phone was already ringing, and it just didn't take very long at all.
That's great. One thing at the very beginning of the 2-day class, David Fisher does it now, Del Walmsley used to always do it. He'd say, turn to the back of the book and write, I didn't do what Del told me to do. And that's one of those things. He says, put a sign out the day you get the property, and people start calling. And it's funny because even the mentors that I've had on the radio show, I ask them, did you do anything wrong? And they say, yeah, I did this wrong. Why? And they say, because I didn't do what Del told me to do. If you follow the map and do what we teach in the 2-day class, you will do well. So you had your first house. You leased it for 4 years solid. How many houses? Tell us about your kind of what you did from there in terms of your path to real estate investing.
Yeah, we accelerated that. We were looking for deals, and we still evaluated a lot of stuff. We missed some deals because we just we didn't offer enough money. The market was getting a little bit tight in North Texas, and there's still a lot of stuff out there, but we just missed deals just barely on some things. But we picked up another deal in Mesquite, Texas, which is another suburb. Not as nice of a house. Didn't have the giant equity capture that the first one did, but it cash flowed great. It probably cash flowed cash on cash return in the low 30s. And I had that one leased continuously for at least 3 years. And the whole goal was I wanted to get these done, and I wanted to cash out at some point and get solely into multifamily investing. So once I got to a portfolio, I said, it's time to start getting out of this. I want to capture some big gains. I wanted to take advantage of accelerated appreciation, which, as you know, it basically means that if you increase the net income of a property by like 10%, you can increase the value of the property by close to 100% on multifamily deals. And that was my goal, was to build up enough cash by getting out of the single-family portfolios to do that. Now, I'm not saying I would never do another single-family deal. I would if I had available capital and the right deal came along. But my focus now is multifamily.
And folks, just so you know, what Phil's talking about is what we teach at Lifestyles. A lot of people think that single family is just training ground for multifamily. That's not true. If you have enough capital, you can go straight into multifamily. But if you don't, what we tell people is you start in single family, you build your equity, you increase your net worth, and then you do exactly what Phil did. You get to a point, you're able to cash out, and you're able to move into multifamily where you have the advantage of what he talked about, that forced appreciation. The golden rule of multifamily is a 10% increase in income results in a 100% increase in equity. You can't do that with single family. You cannot force the property to appreciate. The property is going to be worth what the average price of properties are in your neighborhood. That's why you never want to buy the most expensive property in a neighborhood, because all the other properties are bringing your value down. You want to buy the cheapest property in the neighborhood, so all the other properties are bringing your value up. But with multifamily, it's a business. It doesn't matter what the apartment complex across the street sold for last month. What matters is how much money does yours make. And we teach you how to do that and achieve financial freedom through that. So, Phil, you sold all those houses, and that was after what, about the 4-year mark or so, or what?
Yeah, I had some that I purchased a little bit later than that, so I was trying to keep everything about 4 years, just as a rule, because after 4 years, things that you've already fixed might start going bad. But then as I started getting closer, and we'd identified Bonaire as the place that we wanted to be, because it looks like for a while we just knew we wanted to be in the Caribbean. We spent time in Panama, we spent time in Costa Rica and Belize and Virgin Islands, everywhere else, and it just didn't tick all the boxes for us. But then we landed on Belize one day, serendipitously, really. We came here, and it didn't take but a couple of days that we knew that this is where we wanted to be. So that's when I really started accelerating, getting out of my multifamily deals, because I knew it was going to take a while to make that happen. And we had some. The first deal probably had the best equity capture, but I never did a bad deal. You don't do bad deals with lot size.
And that's why, folks, you're making money in 5 different ways. You're making money with the cash flow, with the equity capture, with the appreciation, with the principal pay down, and with the depreciation. And so if the market stalls a little bit, No big deal. I'm getting cash flow all the time. Why do I care if the market stalls a little bit if my property doesn't appreciate quite as quickly as I thought it would? The other point I want to make here is you said you're in the Caribbean. What an amazing problem to have. We have to figure out where on the beach we want to live. And you chose Bonaire because you said, and it's outside of the hurricane zone, right?
Hurricane belt, yes.
We're talking with Phil Shelton, and we're working on your financial freedom. Stay with us till the other side of the break, and hear some more of this wonderful story.
Warning. Listening to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show will change your life. We will teach you how to create wealth and passive income so you can be financially free. And now, back to your host.
David Ruzicka with Lifestyles Unlimited, working on your financial freedom. Want to invite you one last time to join me for the free workshop. It's online, and would love for you to join me this next Friday at noon. All you need to do is go to lifestylesunlimited.com. If Friday at noon doesn't work for you, one of my teammates will be doing other workshops on other days of the week, and they are all great. Probably better than me even. But you get to see me in person, or you get to see my face anyway on the webinar. So I want you to invite you to come. I'm going to show you in detail how we make money in 5 different ways, and the 6th way we make money with multifamily, which is through forced appreciation. And that is what Phil Shelton, who we're talking to right now, who lives on an island. Phil, how do you actually say that? That is the island of Bonaire in Caribbean, Netherlands.
Correct. Yeah, it's part of the Dutch Caribbean.
Right. And so you did the single family. You started selling off your single family properties because you wanted to get to that place of financial freedom. And tell us about your next step there.
Yeah, I started going to the multifamily road trips on once a month. I had the advantage of my office being very close to the Lifestyles Dallas office, so I could duck out for a few hours here and there. And I started networking with all the lead investors, the syndicators, and also all the partners, the passive investors, and started working and building relationships. And didn't realize that the magnitude of the wealth of knowledge that was in that room. I thought everybody that was at about the same stage I was. In fact, I thought I was ahead of the game because I'd worked for real estate companies, although not in an investment capacity. But I mean, there were some very smart people in there that could really talk the talk without any question whatsoever. So I got on everybody's all the syndicators distribution list. So if they ever had a deal come up, they knew who I was. They knew I was interested. They could send me a quick email and say, "It looks like I have a deal coming. Stay tuned. Once they have something put together, I'll send out the information to everybody that's on my list, and you can evaluate it and see if that's something that fits your goals." And I did that for several months, and finally found a deal that I could get into, because a lot of times back then, not so much now, a lot of times deals filled up before you could get into them. There's a lot more deals now. I get so many deals coming across my desk that I don't have the capital to participate in. And it's like almost, you have to grit your teeth and say, I just can't do it. But there's more deals than there is capital out there right now, and I think that's you will run out of money before you run out of investment apartment deals to invest in. Put it that way. Yeah, without question.
So you got into your first deal, and go ahead and walk us through what happened after that.
It was a big one, better than 300 units. It was in Arlington, Texas, a Dallas suburb. It was kind of a heavy lift. It was a bit of a value play. So it took a while before I started seeing any cash flow. But after maybe 6 months or so, we started getting, and the syndicator paid out dividend checks monthly. So I was getting about $450 a month on my $75,000 investment, and we kept this property and we rehabbed some of the units, or most of the units actually, kind of repositioned it. We ran into a little bit of a snag on it because the main road that had frontage was under construction all of a sudden, and we didn't know that when we got in the deal. It was on the DOT list to be torn up. So we had some access problems, and that hindered traffic and drive-by to it. So we worked through that. Luckily, we had good terms on the loan and the interest and all that. So we got we sold that after I think 4 years. Didn't make a ton of money on the equity capture and on the reversion, but we made a ton of money on the cash flow, which was nice.
And one thing that Phil said there is, as we're walking through that, so basically he's part of a big partnership is what it was. There was a lead investor who's running the whole deal. So when he's saying we did this and we did that, Phil, how many times did you actually go out and call a contractor or ask a repairman to go do something out there?
I went to the property one time, and that was before we bought it, and then one more time after we bought it, and then we all went to lunch. And that was the
so you did no work on the deal. You just made the money. No, that's kind of the bottom line that I'm getting to.
That's right. There's about
That's great.
40 of us in the deal.
Yeah. What were the total number of deals you got into?
I was in 7, 2 sold. I'm in 5 now. I'm hoping that one of them is going to refi and one of them is going to sell in the fourth quarter. So I can, and we should make a great gain on those two. Well, a great gain on the sale. And then most of our money back on the refi, our original investment. So I'm hoping to get into 2 more deals before the end of the year, if at all possible. And that way I'll just increase my cash flow. Yeah, exactly.
So you're living on an island in Bonaire, and you're able to actually continue doing your investing because now everything is online, and it's a lot easier to do that kind of thing. And you're a passive investor. You're not doing the work, so you don't have to be there to do it.
That's right. That's right.
Short end of the story is inner city kid, goes out, works, uses real estate to retire himself. What is your current lifestyle right now?
I get up sometime between 7 and 10. We'll have some coffee, and then we kind of plot out what we want to do for the day. Sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's hang by the pool outside. Sometimes it's fish crabs or something else out the pool that decided to go for a swim. And then we try to go to the beach a couple times a week, I guess. Getting to be more so now than we were early on because we were busy with the house, and because we got here and we rented a house for 6 months, and then we found something that we actually wanted to purchase. That way, we weren't concerned about having somebody else sell their house and us having to scramble around to find someplace else to live. It's kind of nice to be able to put down roots if it's someplace that you're living. So we did that, and most of our furniture we had to import from the States. So that took a while to get everything furnished. You can buy stuff here, but it's not quite the same quality as you would want in your house. Some of it's pretty good quality, but not all of it. So that took a while to get all that done. But we finally got everything situated with all of that, and we're starting to enjoy just the leisure portion of it. We took windsurf lessons. This is one of the premier windsurfing islands in the whole world, particularly for beginners, because there's a constant eastern trade wind. So you're never going to ride out a breeze. And the bay there is shallow. If you fall off your board, you stand up and you get back on it, and it's immense. I mean, it's crystal clear. So we took windsurfing lessons there. My wife did pretty well. I didn't do so well. I was having trouble getting on. It was a little bit choppy that day. I think we're going to do it again once we get into July, late in July, and the wind's coming down a little bit, so we'll try it again then.
Bottom line is you're living a vacation life is what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. We're living a vacation life.
So let me ask you, you told me there was something you wish you would have done differently in terms of Lifestyles Unlimited. What is that and why?
Well, I wish I'd have known about it, got started about 10 years earlier. Even if I didn't want to retire right then, I would have been working on my education. I would be working on building income, building wealth, and learning the business. And I'd be 10 years ahead of where I am now. So I'm catching up. But that's something that I hear recurring. And if you have any interest in investing in real estate, you really need to get going as quickly as you can.
Yeah, I hear that repeated over and over again. That's the same story I would say. The other thing that Phil told me, I'm going to just say it for him because we're coming to the end of the show, is the relationships are as important as the education. I bought Carlton Sheets materials back in 1990, educational materials. I never did anything with them. I joined Lifestyles Unlimited, and one of the things Carlton Sheets says in his books is you need to surround yourself with successful, like-minded people. And that's what we allow you to do with Lifestyles Unlimited. That's what made Phil successful. That's what has made me successful, is having that opportunity to be with a group of like-minded people that can help you along your way. I want to invite you again. Go to lifestylesunlimited.com. Join me for the free workshop, and we will get you on your way to financial freedom. Have a great rest of the day.
The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.